Welcome, everybody. So glad that you are here again on another Wednesday. If this is your first time, this is a master class and it's a class. It's very interactive and we want you to participate. And the more you participate, I hope the more you get out of it, right? This definitely isn't something about me. This is about bringing everybody in ideas and collaboration and sharing and growing and in more skill-based. Sometimes we talk about some other stuff, but predominantly we're talking about skills. Boy, I'm fuzzy, but that's okay. So my question is this: how many of you, let's put it in the chat. Let me see if I can get my chats up here. Put it in the chat. How many of you last week did the challenge? I'm looking. Who did the challenge last week? Who remembers it? I'll give you a hint. Get over it was kind of the title. Had something to do with chicken list, hard call list, whatever you want to call it. I'm seeing a few people. Few of you did it. Only 4 or 5. Let's see here. I wasn't here. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all right. I get that. Why don't we do it? Carla, Miss Carla Brake, would you unmute yourself, please?
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Fantastic. So last week, we were talking about being bold and just, making the phone calls, right? Like, don't judge people on your list. Just make phone calls and just go through the list, because we all tend to sit down and tell ourselves, maybe you don't, I do. And all of a sudden I'm looking at my list and I'm like, well, maybe I'll go down to this person down here because I think they might say yes, or in some cases, maybe they won't answer, but that'll just let me know that I made a phone call. So Carla, the challenge was to your chicken list, hard to call list, whatever you want to call it. I'm curious, did you make any of those calls?
I did. I have one person in particular that I've been wanting to get a hold of. And unfortunately, I don't think it worked out so well, but I did it.
So, and I love that, right? So it didn't work out so well. They weren't interested. Is that what you mean?
Well, I'm just I'm getting the cold shoulder, kind of no response. I had an initial phone call that lasted, a few minutes, and we got caught up a little bit and invited them to take a look. Yep, I'll do that. Add me to the group kind of thing. And I tagged them in a video, and now it's just crickets.
Perfect. How cool is that?
That's fantastic, because now she's off my list.
But also think about this though. Not only is she off your list, there's many things. You did it, right? How'd that make you feel?
Accomplished.
That's a great word. Mm-hmm. So you felt accomplished. She's off your list, but also is in a group, right?
Yeah.
So guess what? Like it or not, because how many of us pick this thing up? At least once an hour and check and scroll through stuff, right? Mm-hmm. You now never know when the timing is right.
Right.
So that's awesome. Very, very cool.
Could be watching. Yep.
So I'm just curious, after you made that call, did you decide to make any more calls, or was that just enough for that day?
No, I did some follow-up calls later. Still just base with catching up.
Do you feel that it empowered you? Like, okay, I maybe made that call out to be worse than it was and whatever, and now I can just go ahead and call anybody and it's not gonna bother me?
I'd like to say yes. It did empower me, but there's still others out there that the phone's a little bit heavier for, but each time you do it, when it's somebody that makes you nervous or whatever, it gets easier. So it's a step closer to the end goal. So
love it. Well, congratulations. Kudos to you. You did it.
Thanks.
And next time you go to pick up the phone and it's heavy, try to get back to the place where you made the call and how did it make you feel? Accomplished. Right? Yeah. Kind of get back in that mindset and just say, you know what? Hey, I want to be accomplished again and pick up the next phone. Right?
Yep.
So very, very cool. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thanks.
Andrea Davison, you said you did it. Would you mind sharing with us?
Hello. Yes, I did. I went back to someone that I had talked to in March, and she wasn't interested in getting in, but she ordered $500 worth of products.
Okay. That's not a bad deal, right?
Right. And then the second girl who got a water bottle when I did, because I was all excited about the water bottles. This is how I got into it. She, I believe, would like to be in the business, but just hasn't quite taken that step, but she's close.
Fantastic. So you made several calls.
I did. I made just a few. Yeah. And my brother won't talk to me about it.
Neither will my older brother, so don't feel bad.
So that's a bummer.
You know, that's all part of it, you know, I mean, but always remember this, every single person that's on here is somebody's friends or family.
Right.
That I can promise you, right? So
Yeah.
you know, I don't believe in the old network marketing thing, get past your friends and family, because I'm like, well, then we'd have nobody to talk to, because every single person on the planet is somebody's friend or family member, right? Like I can promise you that.
Right.
That's not going to change. So I'm curious, after you made those calls and had your results, how did that make you feel?
Well, I was excited about the product order. And then the other girl, she was dealing with the COVID thing. And I think that she's just, you know, she knows she needs to, not that it's going to cure her, but to get healthy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, congratulations to you. Super
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Let's see. Maureen Kavanaugh made 2 chicken list calls. I'd love to hear what happened. And if one of my co-hosts could help spotlight, that would be cool. Please.
You can only spotlight if they've got their picture showing.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I learned something. Maureen, are you with us by chance? Are you willing to share? If not, that's okay. How about Rick and Jayne?
Hey, Aaron.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Jayne's in Jacksonville visiting new grandbaby. However, I did make several calls, literally 7, one of which was an actual chicken list. I almost said something else. Guy's a financial advisor. He's very successful. And he's a nice guy, and we were in Toastmasters together. However, when I called him, he was at Myrtle Beach and in a very vacation-y sort of mode. And also, I think he was going to a big Kentucky Derby party that was at this past weekend. So while we connected and we hadn't talked in a while, and I got like a first touch, and he actually knows what Jayne and I do. But so I made a connection, and then we're going to continue conversations when he gets back towards this way. That was my chicken list call, and I thought, even though it didn't quite broach the subject, we got back into connection. So I think that's good for a later date. And made a number of other calls to various minimal success. However, I did make the calls, and that is a good step. Anyway, I just have to be consistent with it,
Love it, love it. So I'm curious, did you make the harder call first, or did you make the other calls first?
No, actually, I made the harder call first. And
did it make the other calls go a little bit easier?
That's exactly right. Once, as all of you guys know, once you get the language flowing and kind of calm down, it gets easier with the next phone calls, for sure.
Absolutely. One last question. So, like, how emotionally did it make you feel after you completed the call? I mean, hey, you connected. It doesn't matter what was really said on the call, in my opinion.
Right.
It's how did you feel after you made, like?
I definitely felt like a weight was lifted off a bit, and so yeah.
Fantastic.
I felt good about myself, and of course, I have, like I said, I just need to be consistent.
Absolutely, love it, love it, love it. Thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing. I think we got time for another one here. Mr. Green, you're an attorney. You're probably on people's chicken lists.
Yeah, maybe so. I spoke to an attorney friend of mine who's very successful, lives up north Michigan, on Thursday. And we were just talking and just kind of catching up with everything. And he started talking about his health issues and how he was fat and this and that. Young guy too. I mean, when I say young, in his 50s. And so I said, look, you know about my weight loss, and we talked about that. So I sent him a video and said, when can you watch this? He said, tonight, which was last Thursday night. I said, great. I'll call you. We set up a time to talk on Friday. He became a ghost. Well, not a ghost. I called him, left him a voicemail, did not hear back from him. The funny thing about this was Val and I were out with friends, another couple from way up north. They were out, they were in town. We went out with them Saturday morning for breakfast. The guy I called on Thursday, his wife was in town because she was helping her son move. She said, hey, I heard you talk to my husband. She goes, I saw the video you sent him. She goes, Vince, you need to talk to him and get him started. So I called him again Monday. Still haven't heard back from him yet, but that was kind of cool. It was just nice that, and he was, not necessarily my chicken list, so to speak, but he's a very successful attorney that for years I have not talked to him, even though I know he has health problems. So that was kind of cool. So.
Isn't it interesting? Even attorneys have chicken lists, right?
Yeah.
And to Vince's point really quick, I'll just digress just for a moment, but the follow through, you guys. So in Vince's case, I'll say a bit of the attractor factor kicked in. I mean, timing, his wife is there. Hey, you need to keep following up with my husband. Obviously he's got the wife support in that scenario. So that's going to go a long way, I would say, in that follow through. But I can tell you that honestly today, it doesn't really have to do with a chicken list. It has to do with follow through. But I just got a coach started that I've been after for 5 years. And so, you guys, sometimes the timing's just wrong. And I could tell you a whole long, crazy story, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But 5 years is a long time. Unfortunately, most people won't even be here 5 years from now. And to me, I'm always looking at, what if that person that I stayed after long enough is either the person that goes and explodes or the person that finds the person that goes and explodes, right? And if we have that mindset of, this is like treasure hunting, right? You don't know if it's the quote unquote, and I don't even know who came up with that term, chicken list person, or the person that's, the successful in our minds, so successful that they probably won't want to do this, right? We judge them. But yet I'll tell you what, these calls and these Zooms and this company is full of people that people didn't want to call, but somebody finally made the call. And a lot of times those are the people that go and take it seriously, because people that understand how to make money typically grasp what we got our hands on much quicker than somebody that needs to make money. So just remember that when you're making phone calls. Is there anybody else before we change subjects that would like to share? Hey, Tammy, would you mind? It says you went through half your list starting the follow through. Tammy, I'd love to hear from you if you're willing.
What I did was, since I started back in June, July, is just everybody that ever talked to me about the drops or contacted me. I never really contacted anybody with this business. I've done the opposite compared to what I did in the one before, because everybody just kind of ran and hid. So I waited for them to contact me, and I went through half of my list that I had since I've started and tried contacting them again, and only 3 or 4 got back with me. Though one of them was a more recent one, kind of, that was interested, and I did get $500 worth of products sold to her.
Good for you. Fantastic.
She didn't want to quit her Juice Plus company yet, which I didn't blame her, because I want to finish my products too from the other company when I started this one, but I'm done with them now. So, but yeah, it did help me get her go ahead and started, I guess you would say. So I feel a little better getting one more customer or rep or whatever. I'm not sure. So
but you guys, that is so awesome. I mean, think about that. What if everybody, what is there, 60, 70 people on here? What if all of us went through our list like you just did, and we all just got a $500 order? What does that do to everybody's volume, you guys? I mean, that's huge, Tammy. Congratulations. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was like 46 people with only maybe 3 getting back and then the one signing up. It wasn't a very good odds, but
But
it helped.
but here's the point. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. And it produced a result. See what you guys, here's the thing. And I love that. You reached out to 43 people, right?
Yeah.
And 40. Now, how many of them did you actually talk to? I'm curious.
Just the one on the phone to figure out what she needed or wanted to do with what she wanted to work with. The others, 3 or 4, maybe 5, we text back and forth a little bit. Some of them brought up the subject again. Some of them didn't even answer me back. I didn't push it with the ones that didn't bring up the subject because I'm really not a salesman yet. But the ones that brought it up, we discussed it a little bit. And some of them saying, well, I'm doing something else yet, or I can't yet, or one's pregnant and can't, so it's just not very many even answered me back. Just even like, hi, how are you? They didn't even answer me back.
So you did this, most of this was through Messenger or text?
Yeah.
I can tell you this, 2 things. Number one, you're right. You're not a salesperson. Don't. What you're becoming is one of the best networkers that I've seen.
Thank you.
You don't want to be a salesperson here. You want to be a networker. That's what we do. And you're getting really, really good. In those odds that you just shared through Messenger or text are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. And you have no idea the other 4 or 5, the relationships in those people. So, I mean, wow, kudos to you. That is amazing. I love it. How, if you had to say about how much time did that take, if you sat down and did it all at once?
It probably, I only spent like the weekend because I don't have time during the week. So I spent like Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday working on it. Couple 3 hours each night. So, 9-10 hours.
So you made one sale, about $15 an hour. Where'd you do that from, your home?
Yeah.
And you did it kind of here and there, just not all at once?
Well, I did it 3 different evenings, like,
Okay.
A couple to 3 hours at a time when I had my time, when I didn't have Riley. And
Yep.
I sat right here and text and did it at the table so I could write down who answered or who said what, so I'd know for the next time to go back to it.
Guys, I love this, by the way, Tammy.
Thank you.
How many of you, you don't have to answer this one, but then I'm going to ask you another one to put a comment in. How many of you have spent 2 or 3 hours in a weekend playing with your phone? Just curious. I wish I could see everything. And so Tammy played with her phone for 3 hours, 3 nights. How many of you wish every weekend you'd play with your phone for 2 or 3 hours and make a minimum $50 an evening while you're at home just messing around with your phone? Put a money sign in the chat box if you'd love to make $50, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday night, $150 a weekend just playing with your phone. Interesting. Isn't that interesting? And I'm not saying, Tammy, when I say playing with it, I know you were intentional, but most of us, I'm guilty. I sit there, man, and before I know it, I've wasted a half hour on rabbit trails on a freaking Facebook that led to this, and I'm over here and I'm like, what the heck time is it? Yeah. I know none of you have ever done that. Probably only me. I'm unique, John. Nobody ever gets down those rabbit trails. But what if we were intentional, like Tammy was, and just reaching out? And again, you guys, that was all through just texting and messaging. Here's what I can tell you. If you took those same numbers, you guys, and you were able to reach out phone calls, and the people that you connected with, you got on the phone, you'd probably double those odds, right? So I've always found that if I'm not directly connected to people on the phone, but I'm messenger or texting, I got to do about twice as many to get the same result. But here's the thing. I can do twice as many in the same amount of time, I guess is what I'm saying. So really, those are fantastic odds. So thank you so much, Tammy. That is awesome. You are growing into an amazing networker. I'm super, super proud of you. All right. So here's what I'd like to talk about tonight. and I'm going to ask some of you to help me out with this. And I'm titling tonight, Just Ask. So I'm going to kind of go through Just Ask, and asking is a skill. I'm going to say that again. Asking is a skill that we can all develop. Asking is a skill that we all need to develop in these areas. At least this is my opinion, that we need to get better at asking people if we can share our business with them. We need to get better at asking people if we can share our products with them. We need to get better at asking people for the sale. And I know there's some good ones on here tonight, and I want you guys to, and I know a couple of you, but some of you might be really good at that as well. We need to get better at asking for referrals. And then the number one reason why I believe that people quit network marketing, remember, it's impossible to fail. As long as your company's still here, you can't fail. You can only decide to quit. But the number one reason, in my opinion, that people quit is because they don't ask for help. Happens all the time. We had a lady here last night, and she was talking to somebody else, and she's like, I don't know. And she's like, and Aaron and Ginger, they're just so busy. I got news for you. And I say this with respect, and even if the person is on here, I say this with respect. I'll always tell you if I'm too busy, but I've never been too busy to help somebody that wants to help themselves. I promise you. I promise I will find time. Ginger will find time. Anybody that's willing to do something to help themselves, to improve themselves, to improve others, I promise you I'll always find time. And I could go through every leader that's on this, and I bet you they would say the exact same thing. So asking to share the business, asking to share the products, asking for the sale. Let's start there. Tim Miller, or the person thinks they would be putting others out. Yep, I agree, Tim. John, you're in my screen. So, and you guys are absolutely amazing. I mean, you've crushed officer, then senior officer. For those of you that don't know, they won the last contest. The 4x4 got 2,500 shares of stock options. And John and Antoinette, they're focused. But one thing that I know, I'm glad you're there, Antoinette, because I think this is probably a better question for you. Nothing against John, but Antoinette, would you, and John, I'm going to ask you something else, but would you kind of talk through about what you do in asking people to start or asking them to buy?
When asking them to start or buy, I mean, I just have a conversation with people. When it comes to the product side, the customer side, whatever we've had a conversation, people usually reach out and say they're, interested, want to hear more. I'll either send them the product overview video that Dr. Ginger did. It's a little bit longer, but that one's worked very well for us because I'll send it to people. Again, we do the same thing. When can you watch it? Find out when they watch it. They watch it. I set a time to follow up, and then get on the phone and just have a conversation asking them, what really piqued their interest about what they just heard. And then they start, they just start spilling everything that they heard, what they like, what they want. And essentially I just, I find out what they're needing, and I'll help take their order over the phone a lot of times with that, because I have them on the phone. I'm able to secure the order and do it right then and there for them and give them a discount. So a lot of it is just not getting in my own head and worrying about what they're going to say or think, but just being normal, being yourself and having a conversation and not trying to overthink it and not worrying about having all the answers. Long time ago, and probably even several years ago, I used to feel like I had to know all the answers. And if I didn't have the answers, it scared me to talk to people, because then they might think I don't know what I'm doing, don't know what I'm talking about. They're not going to be impressed. They're going to, think less of me. So I would conjure up all these thoughts in my own head, and that was about me, not them. And so when you make it about them, and you're okay with knowing there may be things that come up that you don't know, and you're okay with that, but you can find the answers, it just makes it so much easier. You take the pressure off of yourself.
Love it, love it. John, what can you add to asking somebody to start? I mean, I don't believe that you guys let somebody off the phone, and I mean that with respect, without at least asking them to get started, or if they'd like to start. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. To me, if you don't ask, you don't get. A coach of mine I had years ago, he said, in order to GET, you have to ASK. And I was like, makes sense. So I always say, and I always get in the habit of asking them questions instead of telling them something. So what I would do, like for instance, when I invite people to take a look at it, I ask them, and I got the script right in front of me here, that and I'm not saying this to impress anybody, but to impress upon them that it's as simple as when you know what to ask. Like what I do is I say, have you seen what's happening with the Patriot Business Network? And I don't respond back until they tell me yes, or even no. Then I'll say, if I sent you a recording from a presentation we recently did, would you watch it? I don't respond back until they say either yes or no. And then I go even further. Well, can you watch it today? And then if they say, no, I can't watch it today, then I say, okay, when can you watch it? In other words, it's always a sequence and it's a pattern. When I get somebody on the phone, I always say, so based on what you just saw, what stood out to you the most? And then I stop. I think what a lot of people do is they just keep talking.
Because they get nervous.
So I just say, so what did you like best? Or what did you see here? And then I always ask them this question. I say, so based on what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you see yourself fitting into one or two categories. Would you like to start actually using the products, or do you see yourself where you can start making money with something like this? Which one fits you best? And almost every single time they're like, well, I'd like to do both. And then my response to that is, perfect. Let's show you how to do that. So in other words, I don't say, well, what do you think? I never ask people what they think. I don't say, okay, so I basically, to me, it's not a salesperson. What it is a guide. You're a guide. You're a leader. You take charge of the situation by leading them to the next step. And so when you lead them to the next step, you always have the assumption that they're going to say yes.
Right.
And the best thing you can do is never ask somebody a question, if at all possible, that they can answer with a yes or no. I always, like my coach years ago said, remember this, the answer to a question is always a question. So if somebody says to me, well, how does that situation work? Like recently, so how do you make money with that? I go, you know what? That's a great question. Here's exactly how you make money. And then I'll say, is that something you could see value in for you? Then I come back and ask them a question, because the person that's asking the question is the one that's in charge of the conversation, that is. So
guys, that was gold right there. That's worth going back and listening to over and over and over. And here's what's fun. Just a couple things I want to point out. Number one, they expect a yes.
Yes.
Right? Like always I expect somebody to want to do what I do. I expect somebody to want to be healthier, and I expect somebody to want to make more money, right? Like that's just an expectation. If you don't have that expectation, it's not them, like they both said, it's you or it's us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Work on that first. Build your belief before you go out and try to share, because then you're just trying to share. The difference is once you have the belief, then you don't try to share, you just share. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I add one thing to that?
Absolutely.
The thing that I learned in the beginning, and I'm not talking about the beginning of this, I'm talking about my journey, which is many years. When I was brand new, if things weren't working for me, I would get away from calls. I would stop getting on calls, and I'd stop reading books. I'd stop. And if I hadn't listened to my coach at this point, he said, that's exactly what you can't do. He said, when you're not growing, you need it more than you do when you are growing. And so my advice would be, if you are struggling, and we all do at certain points, guess what? That's when you plug in even more. That's when you get on Aaron's calls. That's when you get on the Saturday morning calls that are available. Plug into the system even more when you're having challenges, because that's when you grow. You grow through challenges. You don't grow when you win, you don't learn nothing. I used to think I'd learn something when I sponsored somebody. What I learned, it's feedback when you take action and it didn't work. Because then I'm asking myself, okay, what could I have done better? What did I do that maybe the next time I'll do like this? It's always about questions. And I ask myself questions every single day.
Love it. The other thing I want to point out, you guys, because again, this stuff is all gold, is Do you notice now, John, how long have you been in this industry?
Before the internet. A long time, 1992.
Okay. Since 1992, John's been in this industry. Do you notice, and did you see him? He's got scripts that fit him and his personality and what he's going to accomplish. Did anybody pick up on that? And when he went through those scripts, it came out as natural as John's talking to us when he's training us and teaching us all the other stuff that he's learned over all these years. How many of us could go back, listen to what he said, take and put it in our own words with our own personality, our own initiatives, and do the same thing? How many of you believe that you could do that? Type in the chat a thumbs up or a number 1. If you believe that you could go back, listen to that little segment, slow it down, take some notes and say, hey, I can customize a script, not John's script. I'm going to own my own. I'm just going to use it as a template. Guys, it's brilliant. But they do it over and over and over and over. John, when you first started doing it, even here, were you as fluid and as comfortable as you are now?
No, and you never will be in the beginning. But think about this. What is it the first time you've ever done something that you were really natural at it? It's in the growing process. And I didn't get that at first. It's repetition. I was told repetition is the mother of learning. So you have to go over it and over it and over it and over it. Because once you start going over and over and over it, it just becomes second nature. You're just right there. It's kind of like driving a car.
Well, and we all start with our family, friends, acquaintances, people we know the best. And those are the ones we usually get the rejection from.
But it's a learning process.
It is. And most people have a hard time getting past that. If you can stick through that and keep moving, you do great. And the other thing is, it's actually much easier in a lot of ways when you talk to people you don't know, because you don't know them. You don't have anything fabricated about maybe how successful they are or not, how much money they make or not, whether they're looking. You can just, you've detached yourself from really caring what the outcome is, because you don't know them, they don't know you. You're just sharing.
The key that I never got in the beginning is you can't lose something you don't already have.
That's right.
So I used to I'd be like, oh man, I need this person. And it was like, wait a minute, you don't have this person to start with. So if they say yes, great. But if they say no, no big deal. Next. And that's the mindset you have to have.
Right. Otherwise you're forcing it.
Yeah. And if you force it, it repels. They'll back away from you.
Yep.
Absolutely love it, you guys. Gold, gold, gold. As always, thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna ask a couple more people to share, and then I'm gonna ask you guys if any of you are struggling in any of these areas, and maybe we can address that. But Amy Summers, are you still with us? Again, I can't see. I've lost.
Yes.
Amy, I know you're one of the best of the best. You're absolutely amazing. You're dynamic, but you're as confident as a person as I've ever met. Even your husband has to carry a gun because you're so confident. He needs something to keep up with you. I'm teasing.
Did you hear him upstairs? He goes, amen. He's yelling from upstairs.
But Amy, so just pick one or several of these: asking to share the business, asking to share about the products, asking for the sale, asking for a referral, or asking for help. I'd love to hear just kind of your perspective on any of that, on how you do it or what you feel, people struggle with.
Okay, so first of all, John and Antoinette, they nailed it. I think everybody should just go back and listen to all of that. There were so many golden nuggets in that. I was even like, wow, that's great. That is awesome information. Great training, John and Antoinette. So as far as asking for the sale, I'm just going to go back to, you guys, it is so important for you just to be you. I love what Antoinette said. Don't try to have it all figured out. You don't have to know everything about the products. You don't have to know everything about the comp plan. We have a system put into place. Hey, have them look at the video, follow if you master anything, master, the basics of the system, the basics, get them in front of the video, get them involved in the group or whatever your upline is doing. What we do, we get them involved in the group, have them watch the video. You guys, and there's going to be some level of interest after they've watched a video or a Zoom or whatever it may be, right? And going back to, I think John was talking about, or maybe it was Antoinette, I don't know. The biggest thing, you guys, is that this is not, I think it was John, it's not about you, it's about them. And I think when you have those conversations, it becomes so much easier when you're trying to find out what their need is. If you make it all about them, you guys, it just really, really flows. Number one, people love talking about themselves. And so when you ask them, where do you see yourself getting started? That is one of the ones I always use, you guys, because they're going to tell you one way or another. They're going to tell you, I see myself getting started on skinny drops. I see myself, they're going to say something, right? And then like John and Antoinette were talking, then you are the leader. You keep leading that conversation until you find out where they need to start, not where you want them to start. And I think that's very, very big. I think we all want to sign up ultimate packs, right? Like we wish everybody would come in an ultimate, right? Okay. Well, maybe not everybody's going to come in an ultimate. And guess what? That's okay. If you've got it in your mind, man, I need Rick to come in as ultimate right now, man. I gotta get it. I gotta win this contest. You are going to lose Rick, no matter it. But if you make it all about Rick and you ask what his needs are, maybe the ultimate pack is going to be the best fit, but you make it all about him and not worry about what you need to sign up, you're going to find a win. So I hope that makes sense. Listening. The biggest thing I've learned in this industry in the last 8 years, and you guys, and I am a talker. So this is something that I've had to learn myself, is I need to shut up. You guys, and I love to talk. You guys know me. Like I always say, I'm just going to keep you 20 minutes and it's 45. Okay. I love to talk and I've got to shut up. I've just got to, but what I have learned to do is I've learned to talk. I want people to talk about themselves. So when I talk, like when I'm on the phone with them, I'm like, yes, I've got the answer. Okay. Now I want to address Aaron real quickly, if you don't mind, the asking for help. You guys, I hear that all the time. As a leader, I even hate using that word. Okay. Like, oh, Amy's too busy. There must be so much on her plate, so on and so forth. And you guys, I'm just like Aaron. Number one, if I'm too busy, I will let you know, but I'm never too busy to help somebody that's trying to help themselves. Like I love what Aaron said. Okay. So the worst thing that you guys, any viewers or even myself, there's sometimes that you ask Aaron, if I need Aaron's help, I'm calling Aaron. Like I need to call him. That is one thing I am not shy about asking. Now, will I try to find the answer for myself first? Like if I would call Aaron, I would probably frustrate Aaron if I called Aaron and said, Aaron, can you help me set up my coupon? Like right now in this business, Aaron be like, Amy Summers, what? Have you not set up your coupon yet? Okay. But like I am a person that I will try to go find the answer myself. Okay. Because that grows us, right? I want to say this professionally. Like my daddy's always like, I'm not wiping you your whole life. Okay. Like you have got to go learn how to wipe yourself. Does that make sense? I'm just a farm girl, people. So that's how I was born though. That's just how I was born. Like, Amy, you go find the answer. And if you can't find it, I'm here to help you. But you guys don't be scared to reach out for help. You guys, that you are so right, Aaron. There are so many people that could look at Tammy Cauldron. Oh my gosh. That girl reached out for help. I'll never forget this. Like 7 months ago, about how to use social media to build your business. Called me up, asked me, we talked. Okay. And I gave her some ideas on what to put on her social media on a post. And I told her where to look. I told her to look at some of mine. We had a conversation about 30 minutes. Tammy now Tammy was asking for me for help. So this comes to the part where the listening part. Tammy listened. Okay. So now Tammy's being the listener. Okay. She just wasn't like, oh, okay, here's Amy. Tammy listened. Okay. Took the information, utilized it, and grew from there. Okay. Tammy didn't call me the next day and be like, okay. I was, was that post okay? Tammy got it. Thank you for your information, utilized it. And Tammy has grown and grown and continue to grow using that social media platform. She reached out for help. She took the information that I gave her, listened to it, and put it to use. All right. And I haven't talked to Tammy since. Okay. And it's not that Tammy, because I don't need to hold Tammy's hand. Tammy's out there growing. She's doing great. If Tammy calls me, yes, I'll answer a question. But I guarantee you, if Tammy would call me today and go, Amy, now I'm gonna put a social media post, I'd probably be like, you're calling me about a social media post? We've already talked about this. Tammy, it may be something totally different, if that makes sense, because Tammy's growing to that next level. So that's kind of my 2 cents, Erin.
Love it, love it, love it. And guys, while I bring up the next guest, if you've got a question that has to do with asking people, right, in any of these areas, type it in, and I'd love to address those. But Jeanne, Jeanne Herrmann, I know you're really good at asking people to get started, whether they want to be a customer or a brand partner, and then guiding them. But in this case, we're talking about asking. What can you share as far as how you ask people to look at what you've got, and then how you ask them to get started?
Sure. Thanks, Erin. So basically, just like what John and Antoinette and Amy says, starting that conversation, finding out what their needs are, and you'll hear it and let them do the talking. And then basically, I would just say, my focus is weight loss. So, now if I hear them say something about money or finances, then I'll focus on that. But for the most part, basically I would just say, hey, Erin, I'm just curious, would you be open to hearing about a game-changing product to help you lose weight? If not, no worries. I just thought I would ask. That's my script. Hey, Erin, just curious, would you be open to hearing about a way to earn some more money for 2021? If not, no worries. Just thought I would ask. And so I just hear what they say, and you'd be surprised, well, sure, I've been watching your post. I've been seeing you, you're doing really well. Yeah, I've been curious, but, I just didn't really want to ask. So a lot of them don't want to ask. So you do need to ask the question, just like John says, if you want the GET, you got to ASK, so, you have to ask the question. And, if they're like, no, I'm not interested, I'm like, hey, no problem. If you do know of anyone that, is struggling with their health or, need to lose some weight, I would really appreciate it if you could give them my name. I've had so many people say, oh, sure. And I've actually had them give me their name and number of people. So, and I do that with a lot of my team when, I do my weekly checkups, hey, how's the, journey going? Great. Hey, has anyone noticed your weight loss? Anyone, ask questions? Yeah, but I really don't want to do the business, all right, give me their name, and then, or, reach out to them, say, hey, can I have Jeanne call? And that's what I do. And then once they say yes, I do the same thing in regards to John and Antoinette. I don't send the video until I know they can watch it, and if I'm talking to them, I say, okay, hey, how about I send it to you right now and give you a call at 7:30. I'll send it to you at 7 and I'll call you at 7:30. Sure, that's fine. And if they say, yeah, I'm not sure. All right, how about Friday? Morning or afternoon work for you? Well, afternoon. All right, I have a 1 o'clock or a 2 o'clock. How about I send it to you? And I send them the video like right before I'm going to do the follow-up, because then it's fresh. I don't send it to them like Thursday and do the follow-up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's basically what I do, but you just have to ask the question.
Love it, love it, love it. By the way, Jeanne has lost 95 plus pounds, you guys, which is unbelievable. And you wouldn't, I mean, just her story is absolutely incredible. And she as well has grown into a professional. I mean, it's fun to sit here and listen. And again, if you go back, any of us could get all of the scripts that you would ever need. I saw somebody put in there, how do you go about asking people that you don't know? You could use what Jeanne just said. I'll give you a really simple line that you could use too. Have you ever heard of a company called New Age? Pretty simple.
Yeah, Erin, I've been at gas stations and, a smile goes a long way. smiling. And typically a smile is a hello. And if you smile and you get that reaction back, I say hello, I'll comment like, oh, it's a beautiful day. And then next thing you know, you're talking and they'll open up and I do that same script, I don't say I'm in this business and da 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 da. I just say, hey, I heard you mention that. Would you would you be open to hearing more about a game-changing way to earn some more money? If not, no worries. I just thought I'd ask. I mean, when we were in Destin, Florida, I'm sitting in the hot tub with my husband, and I can't tell you how many names and numbers I got with conversations from people just sitting in a hot tub. So you just talk to people and you listen, especially when there's a group of people. And some guy was talking about stock and how he was watching his stock and then he sold it and he did. And I just, I said to him, I'm like, hey, would you be open to hearing more about, a great stock option and how to, look at stocks and stuff? And he goes, yeah, I know nothing. I don't either. But it was just getting him in about talking about InBev. And then he's like, sure. So you can have conversations with anyone, anywhere. You're just building relationships. That's all you're doing.
Love it, love it, love it, guys. There's a lot of gold nuggets in this tonight. Hey, and again, if you've got any other questions, we got a few more minutes. I'm going to share a couple things, points, but type in a question. If you got a question, we're here on the subject of asking for help, right? So if this is your time to ask for help, ask, push yourself.
I have a question for you, Aaron. Big one.
Yep.
Okay. And this came up and I was going to bring this up, but I think we should bring it up. I don't know. It's just out of my heart.
Sure.
So, and I think a lot of us get this, and I would love to hear what your answer is to this. Okay. Sure. All right. So, my daughters come home and they're always like, Mom, what do you do? And they're like, it's so hard to explain what you do. And we were at school today and they want certain people to come in and talk. And the kids in my class were like, hey, you should have your mom come in and talk. And Kim's like, I don't even know what my mom does. So what do we say? I want to hear it from you. When people ask you on an airplane, in a store, because I think that opens up the conversation to get people to look at it. Aaron, what do you do?
I visit with people for a living.
And what is that?
That's exactly the answer that I was looking for.
Right. I knew that's what you're going to do.
Right. So again, because if my parents ask me, what do you do? I teach people about real health. But if somebody, this is my opinion and we could go, I got a few minutes here, but when somebody asks me, and again, we go back to, the invite, which is this is part of that. But if I'm striking up a conversation with Amy or whatever, I'm going to control the questions, right? So if she asked me that and I wasn't ready to answer, I'd say, well, what do you do? I would flip it right around without even answering. And she's going to answer 9 times out of 10. It's just human nature. Again, if I'm not prepared, if she caught me off guard, because you can't go, well, that never works. Is not a good way to start what you do. If you have to think about it, they're already skeptical. What I like to do is it's actually a Tony Robbins deal, but I like to interrupt their pattern. So what do you do? I'm a professional visitor. What? Okay, I've interrupted your pattern because you have no idea and you're so curious. You're going to ask me, well, what do you mean you are a professional visitor or you visit with people for a living? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you know anybody that's looking to improve their health? Well, yeah. Do you know anybody that, especially in the world that we live in today, that wouldn't be opposed to maybe making some more money? I don't got time right now, but I'd love to get your information. I'd love to, share with you, I mean, you guys, it's a flow, but I love an answer to that question that interrupts somebody's pattern. And again, it takes them off kilter, if you will. If I say, well, I own a home base, if I do what all the gurus teach, then there's red flags going off in their brain. They're like, oh, I got to get away from this guy. But if I say something so crazy, like, what? That's the reaction that I want. Like, what? Or they laugh or like, what? Okay, now I've got you and take this right. I've got you where I want you because you don't have a wall that I got to break through. right? You're just like, what is this guy? That's kind of crazy, but I want to know what he does because I've never heard that before. And then I like to start off with, well, let me ask you a question. Do you or do you know anybody? And Jeanne did that, which is a deflective, statement, right? So it takes the pressure off. I like the pressure release. Do you or do you know anybody that maybe is looking to improve their health? And then back to a John statement, which is pause. Let them answer. Don't answer for them. And sit there as long as it takes without saying anything until they answer. And depending on what they say, you can go down that road, or you can say also, hey, you wouldn't happen to know anybody that's not opposed to making some more money in this world that we're living in today, are you? Or do you? Right. And then depending on if you're prepared or not, like if you're pumping gas and you're on your way to work, you're probably not prepared to show a presentation right then. Say, listen, I don't have time right now, but I'd love to share with you. And you could do the, hey, it may or may not be for you, but man, I know you'll know somebody that can benefit. Is it a text or email better for you? Guys, 90% of the time they're gonna give you their number. I never say, can I call you? Text or email. 10% they give you the email, 90% they give you a cell phone number because you got to have it to text. And then what I like to do is I like to text right while I'm driving out. Hey, this is Aaron. We just met at the gas station. We just met in the hot tub. I was the guy in the Superman Speedo, whatever that is, right? Like it doesn't really matter. But I want, I was the guy in the black shirt that you just talked to at the gas station. I want them, because the next time I text or call them, I want that to pop up, which then exudes that memory. Does that make sense? So probably a long answer to a short question, but that's what I do. Miss Summers.
That was great, Aaron. That was great. Golden.
All right. So we're getting towards the end of our time. Ask for help. Linda, you probably never had a date in school. You want to know why? The prettiest girl in school never had a date. You want to know why the prettiest girl in school never had a date? Because everybody assumed that she had a date and nobody bothered to ask. You want to get wealthy in network marketing? Remember that story. I promise you the prettiest girl in school always loves to be asked, because we all do. And if you do not ask for help, and again, back to what Summers said, don't ask for stuff that you can get the answer to because you're lazy. If you're looking to improve yourself, your business, your skill set, there's not a leader in network marketing that's worth their salt that would not take every phone call from every single one of you every single day. If you're literally out there attempting, I hate that word trying, but attempting to improve your skills, your business, and better yourself in your family's financial situation. There's not a leader in network marketing that doesn't want you to blow up their phone. Again, if it's stuff that then you take, and I'm going to go back to what Amy said about Tammy. Tammy asked, but then she took action on what she learned from asking. And we will all take your calls all day long if you'll operate like that. But what most people do is they use not asking, and then they make up, well, Amy Summers, Jeanne, Rick, Scott, Melissa, they're probably just too busy. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and use that as an excuse to quit. And then when people ask me why I'm not doing that anymore, I say, oh, well, they were too busy to help me. Now I've got myself an out. And of course, none of us want to admit that we're a quitter. So we'll lie to ourselves and then we'll lie to everybody else, but at least we got an out. And that, in my opinion, is, again, the number one reason why people quit this industry. Because either A, they're too afraid to ask because they make up stories, or B, they realize if they ask, they're going to get the answer, and they're not willing to take the action, and they won't have a way out. Because when Tammy called Amy, Amy's going to give her the answer to the question. Now it's back on Tammy. And some of us don't like to own our own stuff. Maybe you're not guilty of that, but I know I am. And so if I don't have to own my own stuff, then I can blame somebody else for my failure. Now, of course, I'll always graciously accept my successes, but I totally want to blame everybody else for my failures. And so many of us don't ever want to ask because we really don't want to get the answer, because if we get the answer, then the pressure's back on us, because then we got to perform on the answer that we got. We really didn't want to take action in the first place. We just convinced somebody or ourselves that we wanted to. And so why would I want to disrupt a great lie? By asking. If you're here to learn, if you're here to grow, which I'm assuming that you are, because you're spending an hour on a Wednesday night when you could be doing other things, ask. Take action. Get really good at the things that all these unbelievable leaders shared with you tonight. Because this is some of the best training, not the stuff that I'm saying. The stuff that every one of our guests said tonight is some of the best training that you could ever get. And here's the thing. It's now back in your lap. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to go back through and are you going to listen to this? Are you really going to jot down some notes? Are you really then going to take action? And are you going to go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to combine what I just learned with last week's challenge. And I'm going to go crush this week, because next week I'm going to get on the Wednesday call. And when they ask, hey, who did this? I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to share. Not only did I do this, but I did it more than I've ever done it before. And here's my results. Is that going to be you next week? Or are you going to just bother not to ask, not to do, not to take action, and just kind of let life happen the next 7 days? Because guys, 7 days from now, you've lost those 7 days forever, right? We all have, and I'm talking to me. I'm just as guilty. So just know that we appreciate each and every one of you. And again, for those of you that shared, absolutely gold. Some of the best stuff that I've heard in 19 years came out of our speakers' mouths tonight. So kudos to all of you. Hey, we look forward to seeing you next week. What's the challenge? Ask. I want to know how many times you ask. If you're going to ask for help and take action. Ask somebody to look at what you've got, whether it's a business or an opportunity to improve their health. Ask someone for a referral. Ask someone for the sale, right? To start. Ask them to get started. Ask someone for a referral. Keep track. Share with us next week. Have a great rest of your night. God bless.